Hey, what's up guys? So here we are in Juneau, Alaska with my girlfriend and her family. We're gonna be here for about 3 days. So we flew in basically Thursday, arrived here about 4 o'clock p.m. We'll be staying up until Sunday. And you know, one of the things that I love about Alaska, and if you guys haven't seen my video from last year where we did the 10-day, like the best of Alaska in 10 days, basically in the main parts of Alaska from like Fairbanks, did the drive all the way down to Denali Park, Seward, and made our way all the way back around. I do have to say that, you know, one of the things that I love about Alaska is the fact that it's just for outdoorsy people, right? I mean, look at this, how beautiful this is. Like, for example, What you guys see here behind me is the Mendenhall Glacier. And I mean, it's if you do like outdoors, right, you do have to come by and visit Alaska. So I've never actually been to Juneau, Alaska before. And it's not as extensive, it's not as big as the main parts of Alaska, like the Fairbanks, the Anchorage, and the Seward, of course, Denali National Park. But I want to go ahead and kind of showcase some of the best activities that you guys can do if you do plan on visiting Juneau, Alaska for like even for a weekend, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, pretty much plenty of time to get all the nice things that you can do in Juneau. So, all right guys, we're gonna go ahead and first make our way down towards Mendenhall Glacier. We're gonna do a couple of the trails around here and eventually get closer to that waterfall that you guys see over in that corner. So if you guys haven't already done so, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button and let's get started. One of the cool things about Mendenhall Glacier is the fact that there are a couple of trails that you guys can take to get a closer vantage point of Mendenhall Glacier. There are two primary trails that you guys can take. The first one is basically Photo Point, which is basically a third of a mile. It's honestly 10-15 minutes from where you park from the parking lot. And the other one is called Nuggets Fall, which is about 1 mile one way to get to the area where there's an actual waterfall. And it's pretty cool. It was pretty cool actually. So while we were making our way up towards Photo Point, we ended up seeing a cute little porcupine. And honestly, I have never seen a porcupine like up close and personal before. And really cute, but we couldn't really get up close because of the fact that it's kind of like closer along the area where, you know, it says do not cross, do not pass kind of thing. But otherwise, really cool, guys. Really cool. All right guys, so I highly recommend after you guys visit Mendenhall Glacier, come by to a place called the Brotherhood Bridge Trail, which is actually not that far from Mendenhall Glacier. So basically what you end up having to do is you get back on the main road, go ahead and make a right, and maybe about 5-minute drive, you'll hit the Brotherhood Bridge Trail. Primarily, I mean, just take a look at this. You get such a beautiful, fantastic shot of just the mountain behind us. And the one unfortunate thing is that I highly recommend, depending on when you come, June, July, you start this whole field behind me, which is kind of dead right now, but around June, July, we assume wildflowers just growing and populating. If you ever look on Google website, just type in Juneau, this is the picture that they show with the wildflowers. Simply beautiful with just the beautiful sunset behind us. I mean, look at that. So come take a look, take a picture. Hey, good morning everybody. So after having a beautiful arrival at Juneau, visiting the Mendenhall Glacier as well as checking out the Brotherhood Bridge Trail, just to kind of take pictures, for today we're going to go ahead and do a private boat tour. And you know, one of the nice things about coming to Alaska, coming to Juneau, is the fact that, you know, you get to see a lot of whales, a lot of like wildlife, and so we're hoping to get to see some of that. I want to say that we were lucky enough today to get a private boat tour because one of our friends, his dad, who lives in Juneau, has his own boat. And so we get to do one of those private boat excursions. But other than that, they do have those charter boats that you guys could go ahead and rent and do like a 6-hour, 4-hour basically tour around the whole bay, around the whole Juneau coast to hopefully see some whales, to get to see some wildlife, and hopefully just get a beautiful day just being in the water. Now, hopefully I do tend to get a little bit of a seasickness, so we'll see how we get from there. But on that, looking for a nice, beautiful day on the coast of Juneau to see some wildlife and some whales. All right, so let's take a look and see what we can get today. All right, guys, so we've been riding our boat for about 30 minutes now, riding along the southwest side of Douglas Island. And so far, the boat ride, it's simply beautiful. Like we've been riding so far, just really enjoying the beautiful mountain ranges of just surrounding Juneau. And talking to our captain, our boat captain, well, obviously Juneau is very popular for fishing. So if you guys do love to go fishing, I would highly recommend renting one of the charter boats and just getting a group together and just going fishing, because apparently they are very well known for like their king salmon fishing as well as their white king salmon. I guess I'm not really familiar with fishing at all, but apparently a really great spot to go fishing. So if you guys are really into that, definitely come by, get a boat, and go fishing for a day. Lovely. All right, guys, so we finally made it to one of our destinations, which is actually the Taku Inlet. And if you look behind me, I don't know if you guys can really see it from here or not, is basically the Taku Glacier. And it's really cool because once we got here, for example, we saw a bunch of birds just like looking for salmon. We saw 2 bald eagles going in and just diving. It's really fantastic. And Now, unfortunately, I brought my drone with me, but I couldn't really actively try to use it because the minute I lifted it off, for example, I had no real control of my joystick, so I was a little bit nervous, and I was like, I didn't want to take it out because I had no control of my drone. So one thing I highly recommend if you guys have drones is learn how to do what's called a catch release or catch takeoff, being able to release from your hand as well as being able to land on your hand. It's a really, really useful skill to have, especially when you're in a boat that's moving. So I highly recommend doing that. But we're gonna go ahead and try to see if we could find some whales now and some other wildlife around the area. So really, really fun experience so far, guys. Really cool. All right, guys, so after our awesome 6-hour boat tour, we decided to go ahead and visit a place called Eagle Beach. And primarily, it's about 20 minutes north of from Aki Bay. And apparently, if you come here during, I guess, specific hours, specific times, it's a great place to come by and see eagles. I mean, the fact that you could drive around basically Juneau and just see eagles flying around is fantastic. But I was hoping to be able to see some nesting grounds for those eagles. But unfortunately, being here for about the last 10 minutes, we haven't really seen any type of eagle sighting. But you know, if you guys do end up coming, make sure to just give a stop by to Eagle Beach and see what you guys can see. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. You got the mountains in the background, very, very low tide as you can see right now. But other than that, you know, pretty cool place to just hang out, have a picnic if you guys have some time for it. And yeah. So after we went ahead and finished visiting Eagle Beach State Park, we continued to make our way up towards Highway 7, basically the main road. And highly recommend everyone going ahead and doing that, because if you continue to make your way all the way up, you're gonna continue to see just a beautiful, like driving along the beautiful coast of Juneau Island, I guess. And you just see the beautiful, and the mountain range is just simply gorgeous. And we came along this area where there is a little bit of a drive along the park. You park along the side and you can make your way down towards the beach. And again, just gorgeous. It's just, you know, the one nice thing I have to say is just it's so quiet. Like if you just listen, just nothing. All you hear is like the birds chirping, or not chirping, but the birds making their sound. You hear the sound of the ocean waves. And actually it's pretty cool. If you go, we did see a couple of sea lions along the way, and just hearing them like, you know, but really, really gorgeous. Highly recommend everyone coming out and just making their drive up and, you know, see how far you guys can go, depending on how far you guys want to go. But yeah, simply gorgeous. You know, the one thing I love about Alaska is the fact that there's so many different hiking trails that you can do, especially if you're coming to Juneau. So one of the hiking trails that we ended up doing is called the Mount Roberts Trailhead. And if you look, for example, on All Trails, for example, or even on Google Maps, depending on what exactly you want to go for, there are technically two Mount Roberts. The first one is going to be basically the Mount Roberts Trailhead. It starts from basically the parking lot and basically goes up to the tram station. Now, you can continue to make your way all the way to the actual Mount Roberts, but for the average person who comes by to visit, you're most likely just going to stop at the tram station. And I do want to mention is that, you know, there is an option to actually take the GOLD tram all the way up to Mount Roberts. Now, unfortunately, it's a hefty price of about $45. So, and the fact that it's also not open today, which it actually opens on May 2nd, it gives you the option to basically go up here, get a beautiful panoramic view of just Juneau and all of the surrounding areas. And you do have to pay, I think, either $10 or $15 to make your way all the way back down if you want to. But in our case, we're gonna go ahead and make our way down. The hike itself is actually pretty easy. It's going to be rated as difficult if you look at the All Trails map, but for the most part, it was pretty easy. It's about a 4-mile round trip hike. I think elevation here was about 1,500 feet, not too bad. But if you start making your way about 1.5 miles up towards the actual trailhead, you're going to end up you're going to basically end up seeing some snow. And right now, today's April 30th, so there is still quite a bit of snow after about 1.5 miles on the actual trailhead. But it's still pretty much doable if you do have like pretty good hiking shoes. I do highly recommend bringing some micro spikes if possible to make the trailhead ascent much more easier. But other than that, well worth the climb, well worth the hike, and hopefully you guys do end up coming, whether you guys take here via cruise or airplane, or depending how long you guys are here for. But beautiful and very well worth the hike. I mean, just look at that view. All right. So, you know, during the times that we were here for the last 2 evenings now, we actually went to the local supermarket like Safeway or Fred Meyer and just basically bought our own groceries to basically cook for dinner. But what we ended up wanting to do for at least one of the nights here was eat at a local restaurant. And one of some of the local people recommended a place called the Hangar by the Wharf, which is basically known for their seafood. And so one of the things that I would highly recommend you guys doing is, if you guys do plan on eating here, is that you go ahead and make a phone reservation, because apparently it gets pretty busy especially during the time right now, where everyone's coming by from the cruise ships and all that. So I highly recommend making reservations. Make a reservation where you get a nice little cool window seating. That way you have a nice little view of Douglas Island when you guys do that. So as far as what we ended up ordering, some of the recommendations that people actually say to order is the halibut fish and chips and the jambalaya, and we did end up ordering 3 other dishes. And as we were making our way to our seating booth, we saw a lot of people order this particular dip. And so what I highly recommend everyone ordering for an appetizer is the salmon falafel dip, basically. And I've never really had smoked salmon prepared this way before. Like when you think about smoked salmon, for example, what do you normally think of, right? You guys think of like a filleted salmon, and that's basically smoked. But in this case, this one looks almost like a tuna, like a canned tuna, but obviously instead of a tuna, it's a salmon spread. And it's one of the things that I highly recommend everyone getting. It combines perfectly well with the pita bread that you guys are going to be getting. Very creamy. You guys can definitely taste the salmon. So I highly recommend everyone for an appetizer to get the smoked salmon dip. So as far as like the main courses that are concerned, again, we ordered the fish and chips, basically the halibut fish and chips, the jambalaya, the seared ahi tuna with rice, I believe, with the ginger rice spread, as well as the halibut wrap. Now, I want to say, don't get the halibut wrap if you guys are thinking about getting it. So, because what we ended up doing is we basically got we had 4 people with 5 dishes, and we all, it's basically a family style. We all basically shared each and every different meals. But the halibut wrap is basically a halibut fish and chips. I highly would not recommend that. Go ahead and skip it, get something else. But let's first go ahead and talk about the halibut fish and chips. So as far as the halibut fish and chips are concerned, very crispy, and I do believe it comes with like a tempura like coating on the outside, but very good. And the dressing that it comes with on the side is like the like the tartar sauce. Basically, it comes with very in perfect combination. Highly recommend getting the halibut fish and chips. Second dish on the menu, let's talk about the jambalaya. Jambalaya is pretty spicy. I think you get about 6 or 7 different pieces of shrimps along with the sausages on the side. This one was okay. I mean, this was recommended by our fish captain that took us on a boat a couple of days ago. It was okay. I mean, I've had better jambalaya, to be honest, but it wasn't bad. But I'd say, if you're craving jambalaya, you're craving something spicy, go ahead and get the jambalaya. But otherwise, I'd say you could probably go ahead and skip this if anything. Let's go ahead and talk about the ahi tuna. And let me just say, the ahi tuna with rice and seaweed salad on top of the rice, very good. And one of the reasons why it's very good is because it comes with a ginger dressing on the bottom, which I highly recommend. Once you guys cut up and separate once you guys go ahead and cut up and divide the tuna, go ahead and get some of that nice little ginger dressing, put it on top, maybe get a little bit of that seaweed salad, some rice, combine it. Very good. So I highly recommend everyone get the seared ahi tuna. Very good. Perfect combination. Last but not least was basically the halibut wrap. Again, I would highly recommend just skipping this, because basically it's literally a halibut fish and chips inside and just wrapped inside a roll with some of the cabbage and all that, So I would probably skip this in general. But anyways, so again, if you guys are looking for a nice local cuisine seafood restaurant in Juneau, go ahead and make a reservation over at the Hangar at the Wharf. All right, everybody, so it's our last day here in Juneau, and luckily for us, we had good weather while we were here, right? We came basically about Thursday mid-afternoon, stayed Friday, Saturday, and we are leaving Sunday. And as you can clearly see, Sunday right now, it's pretty rainy, pretty gloomy, and pretty cloudy. But since that was kind of the plan, looking at the weather forecast, always make sure to check the weather forecast to make sure that you guys are coming on the right week. But for our last day, we want to go ahead and kind of explore the town of Juneau. And before actually heading to the downtown area, to all of where the shopping area, the touristy areas, we want to go ahead and make our way towards the southern-eastern tip of Juneau, just to kind of say that we went to the last driving spot of Juneau. So it's basically an area called Thane, and it's only about a 10-minute drive, honestly, to go from downtown Juneau, all the way to the very tip of the road before you basically hit the end, and just making your way back up And we did see some cool things along the way, such as stopping by the Sheep Creek like river trail area. Kind of a cool little like Cascade waterfall area, and also made our way kind of downtown towards the beach and just kind of get a little bit of a get some walking in. So once we finished our little driving excursion, we want to go ahead and head to the downtown Juneau area. Now, unfortunately, a lot of things that are in the area are still closed, primarily because of the fact that one, maybe it's Sunday, they're not really open on Sundays, but two, the tourists and the cruise ships have not really arrived yet. So according to some of the locals here, the cruise ships come on May 2nd, and today is, what is today? May 1st. So today is not quite where cruises come in yet, but basically May 2nd, which is a Monday, is where all of the cruises are going to start coming and just bringing everybody in and making the whole town of Juneau one big tourist spot for all of the locals to basically, make some money. We were talking to someone here and they're saying that, during the whole COVID pandemic, a lot of these shops and tourist spots ended up having to close down because, places like Juneau require heavily on, monetary finances from tourism. And if you don't have tourists coming in to, buy your wares, buy your t-shirts, your souvenirs, you're not really bringing a lot of money into the city. So as a result, a lot of these businesses had to close down. So, if you guys do ever come to visit Juneau, support the local businesses and all of that and so forth. But, there's some shops that are still open, like the typical like Alaskan like souvenir shops. And, if you guys are interested in buying some like t-shirts, ulu knives and things like that, definitely come by and check it out. And of course, before we had to leave, I want to go ahead and basically try some of their like fish tacos. And there was this one real cool like Nouveau style like area where you can buy like fish tacos, s'mores. I think they also had like a crepes like area where you could buy like either a savory or a sweet crepe. Pretty cool if you guys are interested in doing that. And yeah. So that is basically it for Juneau. And I know most people who do end up coming to Juneau do arrive via a cruise ship. And from my experience, because we ended up coming on an airplane, we took, the Alaska Airlines from like Seattle to Juneau, which is about a 2-hour flight. I would highly recommend if you want to get the full experience of like what Juneau feels like, I definitely recommend everyone come via the airplane because one, I think you need at least 2 or 3 days to really get a good experience of being in Juneau, because I know from like my girlfriend's parents, when they came here for a cruise, they basically only ended up having about 6 to 8 hours to spend. Like they would arrive basically at 10 o'clock in the port. They take them to like the typical places like Mendenhall Glacier, and then after that they hang around like the downtown Juneau for like that little tourist area before they dock and ship back to wherever they're going. And I don't really think that's a good way to really experience Juneau, because as you can see from the last 2 or 3 days we've been here, you guys got to definitely experience like a boat cruise, like a water tour, try to see some whale watching, and of course checking out a lot of the trailheads here in Juneau. Like, for example, if you guys are gonna be wanting to climb a mountain or just experience a trail here, you guys definitely have to go ahead and check out the Mount Roberts trailhead. I mean, I guess granted, you could go ahead and take the gold tram up to, the Mount Roberts area, but granted, it's $45 per person. Kind of expensive, but otherwise, you get a whole fantastic summit view of like, Juneau as well as Douglas Island across the other side of the river. But other than that, it's a really, really great place to just come out and be away from just the city life for a weekend. Like I highly recommend 2 or 3 days max in Juneau, unless you guys plan on doing other trails along the way. But otherwise, there's not really much else to really do as far as like city life. Everything is about nature, right? It's about going fishing, going hunting, going boating, or even going hiking, going cycling. It's anything that involves outdoors. Alaska is honestly the place to be. Like if you guys haven't seen my video from last year where we did a 10-day drive from like Fairbanks, visiting Denali, Seaward, all the way up back towards Fairbanks. Beautiful, lovely experience. I highly recommend everyone do, especially if you just love the scenic outdoors, you love nature, and you just love experiencing nature in all of its glory. That's what they say, right? Alaska's the last frontier, which I can see it really is. Of course, a lot of gold mines and all that. So again, I highly recommend everyone, if you guys are going to be visiting Juneau, take a plane, rent a car, stay for at least 2 or 3 days, and just really get a chance to explore the surrounding areas rather than coming in via cruise, spending only like 6 to 8 hours here, and basically that's it, right? So anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in my next traveling adventures. Take care.